Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of The Crew Car with me, James Battey, and Aurora. How are we doing?
Hi, good afternoon, James. How are you?
Yeah, good. Not too bad, not too bad. Shipyard, been lifted out of the water. So, I say lifted. We are being lifted currently. So, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. How's
I
things with
guess
you?
it's gonna be busy.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those where it's got a bit chaos and you don't really know. Everyone's standing around waiting for something to happen. But yeah, not too bad. But at least it's a nice sunny day, so I can't complain.
Exactly.
Just wanted you to sort of, I was recommended to give you a call because, your survival guide for a yacht stew comes highly recommended, supposedly the new Bible that every stewardess must have. And yeah, tell us more about your background, how you got into it, what made you write it, what inspired you. And
Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you so much for the call. So I'm a chief stewardess on one of the largest sailing yacht in the world, and also the author of the survival guide for Yacht Stew. For my background, I started actually 10 years ago in the yachting industry as a stew cook. I wanted to be a stew cook because I wanted to discover every single part of the job.
yeah,
And then slowly I worked my way up to become a chief stewardess. And about 3 years ago, I joined a new build where I am now and very happy to be where I am now.
awesome, amazing. And what was it that basically created the kind of what is now the Bible? I mean, that you took your wisdom and thought to yourself, you know what, I need to share this, which is the joy in the industry is people like you who are elevating the industry by sharing their knowledge rather than gatekeeping and seeing knowledge as power and something that you need to hold on to rather than sharing and, trying to get the best out of your peers.
We try to elevate the industry.
We do.
So about the book, it's actually about 3 years ago, as I said, I joined a new build boat. And I knew it was going to be super busy between the hiring process, all the items that we have to buy for the boat, all the structure that we have to create for the boat. And I knew I wasn't going to have enough time to train my stew the way I wanted them to be trained.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give them a tool for them to come on board and to arrive with peace in mind. So I started to write my stew Bible, but with way more detail that I'm usually doing, like basically everything about any kind of materials that we could have on board, every kind of fabrics that we can have, how to treat them, how to take care of them, how to take care of any kind of upholstery as well that we can have, and basically everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
And then my godmother came one day at home for a coffee and she saw my 3 massive file and she just went through it and she said like, that is absolutely crazy how much information you put in those books. Why don't you get published? And I was like, oh, it's very technical, so I'm not too sure people will be interested about it. But then she put that seed of idea in my mind and it just started to grow. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it could actually help people in the industry, especially when they start. So it took me 2 years to write that Bible, that survival guide,
Yeah.
where you can find everything. And it's finally launched last month. And I am actually amazed by the popularity it took very fast, like how many people were so happy to have it and so being helped with it. And I'm very happy just to have put my help in the industry to grow. And that is amazing.
Yeah, but that, like you said, that is awesome because you're giving your knowledge to other people to help them. And it doesn't matter in this industry, every day is a school day. I learn something new every day, and being able to get an insight into various departments through, having it in text is always helpful because, as you say, we're very busy. You don't always have time to be able to put training into people, but to be able to have something which they can use for reference is unbelievable. Yeah, it's a shame there's not more of it within this industry because there's so much knowledge between products that you have to use, the same whether you're interior, exterior, the boys on deck, the various different teak products, polishing products. There's so many different types, what products you can use on different types of stainless as opposed to on different alloys. it's unbelievable the depth
It's
of knowledge that you
unbelievable.
have. And also just there's some weird products that we use this in order to get this out, like raising dents out of teak using ice cubes. All that, like, this is knowledge that you kind of, that wisdom that you kind of associate with old men hanging around, like I'm watching currently in this car park where I am, where they're all playing pétanque here in Toulon. And you imagine they're standing around now chatting, talking through some of their kind of wizardry ways from whatever careers they've been in. And it's
Exactly.
nice to be able to pass that on, and to have that as a point of reference for crew. So I take my hat off to you for being able to do that. But also, you're French, but you've
Exactly.
written a book in English.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I spent my last 10 years in yachting, so everything is in English. And my partner, my fiance, is actually from South Africa.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So that's explained also why. And I think with
Yeah.
the book, I wanted to make it useful for the most people I could help. So I wanted to like target really the whole world with that. And I thought English was actually the best way to do it.
Yeah, the widest audience possible.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
And where are you publishing? Is this book, is it readily available, or do you have to go to some remote bookstore? Is it quite easy to access?
yeah, so I think the easiest for now is probably Amazon.
Right.
A few shops in Antibes are selling it. A few shops in South Africa will sell it. So we
Okay.
are in discussion now with them to
Biltong, Stew Bible, perfect.
exactly next to each other
Yeah,
with some
yeah,
brandy on the side.
exactly. Amazing.
And I'm actually busy with airports as well, trying to see how we can make it work. It's
Wicked.
just, with the French bureaucracy, it's kind of difficult
I,
sometimes.
I dread to think. I dread to think. So, how many of you?
Exactly.
How many are in circulation? I mean, have you got? Is it printed on demand, or is it like you've got a
Yes.
warehouse sat somewhere where there's like 7 million books?
No, it's printing on demand. So you just go to Amazon and they will print it whenever you need it and you're going to receive it, I think, maximum 10 days. So it's between like 5 and 10 days wherever you are. I know they received some in Australia. They received some in South Africa. They received some in Palma. So I know that it's working quite well
Yeah. Well, I mean,
internationally and in France as well. So
amazing.
it's quite intense actually.
But how did you yourself? I mean, how did you find yourself in yachting? What made you kind of your ears prick up and go, "Wow, okay, that sounds like something I can do"? How did you find yourself in it?
Oh, yachting. That's actually a funny story.
I,
My
I love
ex
a
back
funny
then was
story.
working for, oh yeah. So my ex back then used to work for one of the restaurants that is on an island in Cannes in the south of France.
Right. Okay.
And he was a tender driver to go pick up the guests from their yacht and bring
Where's this?
them on the
Garit.
restaurant.
Was this
Yeah,
Garit?
exactly.
Oh,
Like a
really?
Ritz.
Okay. Yeah. Which is now the most sought
And
after restaurant. Like the Sunday
it
session
is
at
busy.
Garit, 3 o'clock table is like mayhem.
Exactly. It's super busy, quite well known here in the south of France. So back then I was actually a director in a restaurant back in France. And he told me, oh, there is like this job opportunity on yachts that you might try, you might enjoy it. I actually wanted to enter the Navy, the French Navy, when I was younger.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I thought, okay, well, you know what? Let's just give it a try. And I did my STCW. And the day I finished my STCW, someone called me in Corsica saying, oh, we have a job opportunity for you. And I'm like, okay, but I'm in the south of France. So, like I can't just come in Corsica just for an interview. I have to book that flight and everything.
Yeah.
And they say, no, but don't worry, the flight is booked for you. Everything will be booked for you. And I was amazed. So I told them, like, let me just think about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I look
Things
at
that you.
my ex-boyfriend and told him, do you realize like someone is willing to pay a flight for me to come for an interview? That's insane. And he was like, yeah, that's actually kind of scary. And in my mind, I was like, am I going to lose my kidney? Like if I accept, are they going to steal
Yeah.
me and put
You
me in
end up
like
finding yourself at the
some
back
kind
of a
of
van.
business and
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And I remember I look at my ex and I told him, oh, you know what? I've got 2 kidneys, so let's just give it a try.
Yeah. Exactly. I can live with one.
And
Nice.
exactly. And so I called him back. I said, yeah, I'm ready for the interview and I can come to see you. And I had a chat with the management And I remember that lovely lady, she asked me if I was organized. And I always been super organized. I love like
Really?
every single details.
Yeah.
And I had my handbag, and on my handbag, everything is like small pockets and labeled and like a proper Chief Stew. And I told her, you know what is the best way? It's not for me to give you a speech, it's just to have a look at my handbag.
Oh,
And
nice.
she
Good
opened my
sales
handbag and
tactics.
she said, you have the job.
That's
And this
wicked.
is how I got my first job interview.
Okay, so it all becomes clear how you found yourself A, writing the Stew Bible,
Yeah.
B, yeah, doing it in English, which is just, yeah, the mind blown on that one. And yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
But in terms of
Thank
yachting
you.
itself, I mean, have you seen much change in the last 10 years? Because the industry has sort of had its ups and downs. And yeah, I mean, how do you feel about the industry at the moment?
I think I love the industry. I love yachting. I love my job. I would say in 10 years, I saw some changement, of course, especially after, well, you probably know Below Deck.
Yeah.
When that started, we had
Yeah.
so many people that wanted to join yachting. It became just so famous. So with that amount of people, the hiring process was getting super intense. And I found that people were willing to grow and willing to improve in the industry, which I think that was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But in another way, having so many people coming in that industry, it brings also a lot of people that doesn't really realize what yachting is, because it's a proper mindset. When you're working on your boat, you have no way to escape. You are living on the boat.
Yeah.
So if you don't really get along with your colleagues, or if you have a long day and you're feeling tired, mentally
Mhm.
exhausted, there is nowhere to hide. You can't, like, you know, except if you take a fender and you just hide yourself behind it. But you
Yeah,
can't really
that's an
escape
option.
that. And it's a proper mindset to have.
Yeah, I think that's
So I
it.
think that, yeah,
It's
that's probably the biggest like change I've seen.
yeah, it's a tricky one because it's you eat, sleep, and breathe in the same environment. People, who have office jobs, they finish their work, they go home. You can kind of grin if you have to work with someone that you don't necessarily get along with. You can grin and bear it for that period of time, and we
Exactly.
work during the season crazy hours under extreme sort of circumstances, maybe in bad weather conditions with we're charter, maybe we have difficult guests on board, and after all of that you may not get on with someone. So your environment's so important in yachting, and it's about, I've seen myself in 20 plus years, I feel that, like you said about Below Deck, I think really devalued what the professionals within our industry do. Because, and obviously, you have to make it alluring for people to watch. It has to be engaging, it has to be fun, it has to be dramatic. And 99% of the time, yachting isn't any of that. It's just graft, and it's really sort of heavy going. And yeah, I think it's important to kind of look at it as it is, rather than this glorified idea that it's just partying, getting drunk all the time, and making loads of money whilst you're doing it. It is a good career,
Exactly.
but it needs to be taken seriously as a career. And I think, unfortunately, Below Deck devalued that by making, well, basically just by making a bit of a mockery of what we do. You know, you
Mm.
know as well as I do, when guests leave and you get the boat back to how it needs to be for the next trip, you've got zero interest in getting in a jacuzzi, sleeping in the master
Oh
cabin,
no.
because who's got to clean those areas? You do. So where you want to do is get in your
Exactly.
bed, go to sleep, or if you're fortunate enough to have some downtime, maybe you get away from the boat and you try and get some time for yourself, and then come back hopefully recharged, the little bit that you can be, before you go straight into the next one. And I think if they showed the actual reality, a below deck reel, people would be like, whoa, why would people honestly do
Mm.
that job? Like, it's just
It
graft and
it
you're under the
is.
cosh. And then, unfortunately, in some aspects of our industry, you are incredibly disposable. It's that idea, well, if you don't
It
like it, I'll
is.
get someone else. And it's just, you see it, unfortunately, with some boats. It's like a revolving door. And
Mm.
we have to try and to claw it back and bring it to the industry, of professionals and creating standards. And yeah, I think things like what you've done with your book and all that helps to assist in that you give people a baseline of like, this is what's to be expected and this how is how I can help you. Because to know what products, we all make mistakes. You can do stuff and get stuff wrong and put the wrong stain remover on something, which actually makes the stain worse. I've done it a million times. My wife can
Ex-
vouch for that. Where I'm like, she's like, "What are you doing? Do not do that. That's blood. You just need cold water. Do not run." And I'm like, that's what I
exactly.
use.
Ice cube.
Yeah, I've just put Dr. Beckman's on it, and she's like, "You're an idiot." And it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can drive the white
That
shiny
makes my heart
bus.
racing hearing that.
Yeah, but
Oh
it's
yes, no, 100%.
yeah,
There is, we don't actually realize how much work there is behind. Most of the people think that, I'm talking more for the interior because obviously it's where,
sure.
where I'm the
You'll
more
specialize, yeah, of
confident.
course. Yeah,
But people, when they think of a stewardess, we are here just to clean. We are basically maids that brings a plate on the table, which is actually just way, way more than that. It's a lot of
it's
chemistry as well, like knowing which product to use for which kind of stain, recognizing the stain, how to take care of the flowers, how to cut the flowers properly for them to grow enough, to have enough life to last for the charter,
well,
the
yeah,
humidity in the room. It's like so many things. Learning how to read the room as well, which is a lot of psychology and
it's
a lot of
huge.
cultural background that you have to have on your guests.
Yeah,
So you actually, personally, I know I read a lot about like different culture, and I
cultures.
come
Yeah.
from a psychology license.
Oh, okay. Cultures and everything like that. It's reading the room is such a huge part of our job because
Uh,
I have, as a captain, I'll have charter guests that come on, and I almost see it as a challenge because I actually like it when people, they've obviously incredibly successful, potentially, made their money and they're very good within their own business field and they're very much used to being in control. And now they're put into an environment where, there are certain external factors, Mother Nature, everything like that, that will affect their trip and is completely out of their control. And they're not comfortable with that. And also, they don't like someone potentially saying, we can do this, we can do that, but due to Mother Nature, we can't do this. And it's like, well, why are you saying no to me? And, it's that challenge where there's a level of sort of defense put up by them that you have to break that barrier down and just go, trust me, okay? I know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do. You just relax, enjoy this. Like, let me guide you on this journey. You're going to have an amazing time. Just hand everything over and kind of almost take control from them and be like, read a book, have a swim. We'll take care of your kids. You're going to have an amazing time. And I suppose it's almost that weird feeling for them where they're, now what do I do? And it's like, relax. That's what you've got to do. That's all you have to do. Just chill. And it's so rewarding when you see that and they sort of turn up a little bit stern and maybe off, and by the end they're like high-fiving you on the way out going, this was genuinely the most amazing experience. And that's the best thing for me when I get it. And yeah, from your point, the culture aspect must be huge.
Oh, I think it's what I like the most actually about the job is all the cultural background that we can define with the guests. It's quite funny when you say actually that some guests they love to be in control of everything
Yeah.
and it's difficult for them to let it go. And I remember actually one of my charter guests, super lovely people, and it was their first time renting a boat, chartering a boat. And they came to us the first hour and they were like, what does people do usually on the yachts? And I thought
They
that
feel
was
comfortable in
so
their own
cute. And
relaxation.
actually,
Yeah,
exactly. And just like, I love the way they were asking us also, like letting us do our job. And that was amazing because they enjoyed so much. We could show them, like, we became their reference in yachting. And it's such a proud, you have to
yeah,
put everything that you have in you to make that holidays absolutely memorable.
yeah.
And that was amazing.
Well, that's it.
And
You want to
also,
create
I think,
memories. That's the experience
exactly.
when you get that 7-star service, which is what we deliver. You know, the professionals within our industry smash it out the park, and there is nothing more rewarding than people who are like the 1% within this world going, that was genuinely the most mind-blowing trip, and you're like, you know, that's
Yes.
it's epic, particularly when they turn up and they don't give off that vibe. And like you say, it's so funny that you say that people aren't almost comfortable relaxing, and but what am I supposed to do? And it's like, I don't know, whatever you want to do, like just enjoy
Exactly.
yourself, have a drink, you know, sit down, read a book. And it takes
Yeah.
a bit of time for them to settle in and get
Mm.
comfortable in their surroundings. And then there's other people who, you know, have done it loads and are used to it, and, you know, are quite comfortable in that. But I used to find it amazing. And owners I work for, amazing people, but they had friends who were not from money at all. Like they were sort of just normal everyday people like me, and they were
Yes.
on this 60 meter, and they just were like, oh, they were, well, and we were like, cool, we've got your barbecue set up on the beach, and we're gonna do this, and we're like, and they're like, what, for us? And it's like, yeah, for you. And that was almost the best, when these people who had never experienced these things suddenly had their eyes open to it, and you almost got more from it, being able to show them this incredible experience, because they would never normally get the exposure to it.
Exactly. And make them feel like they are unique and
Yeah,
they are the king and queen of the world.
yeah,
And that feeling, I think what is the most rewarding is when they rebook the charter for
yeah,
the
yeah,
next
yeah,
year,
yeah,
and that you make your job properly.
yeah,
And you also, I personally, I get so excited to see them again the next year,
yeah.
just to, because you know them, you know what they like, what they didn't like too much, and you can really adapt the
Tailor it.
service
Yeah,
according to them. And it's so rewarding. I had some guests that came back 4 years in a row
that's
on the
awesome.
boats.
That's a testament to
And
what you guys are doing.
exactly. And to myself, but to the boat, to the crew that we were working on. And also, like, when you're getting along very well with your deck departments, just like the interior and the deck can make like all the games for the charter, like every single detail that can work together. And at the end of the charter, you are sitting, all in the crew mess, and you are chatting about the charter
Yeah.
and realizing that you just built some incredible memory
Yeah.
for a bunch of people all together. And it's that team spirit that is just thrilling.
But you've just raised something really important, like your crew, the people that you work with, and the environment that you're in. That makes or breaks, because it doesn't matter. And I've said it before, you can be on the most amazing 3 helicopters, 12 swimming pool, all singing, all dancing. But if the crew don't look like they're enjoying being in the environment that they're in,
Lovely.
that spills through any service. You know, you go to a restaurant and the food's amazing, but the service is off. That's what you remember. Whereas you can go and have average food, but if the service is amazing, it's like, that was wicked. I had a great time. And the service is so key in what we do, and the crew are so key in our industry. And yeah, we have to really elevate that and make sure that we continue to strive to keep the standards being raised in yachting, because as with it, like I say, any service industry, it's the people that deliver that are key.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I think also, like, as I said at the beginning, with so many people joining in the industry, you also have a lot of people that doesn't realize how important it is to have a 5 or 7 star service on
Yeah.
board. And it's also what I try to describe in the book, like to teach them few tips and tricks to elevate the service, to elevate the standard, going like just through the uniforms and the way you present
Oh,
yourself,
completely. You are
to
your
like the
adverts,
way
yeah.
you hold your tray, for example.
Yeah.
And it's like all these small details, because before talking to a person with words, you're talking with your body. And just like the way you stand in
Exactly.
front of people, in front of the guests, it's so important, especially with the people we are chartering the boat, because they are usually very well educated, coming from high society. So this is the
This
everyday
is the norm.
kind of lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So you need to match that norm to fit in that industry and to make the charter or the owner, if you're on a private boat, the happiest in the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's just one of the things I try to pass through the book as well. So hopefully it will reach some people and help them in the industry.
Yeah, but it will, because the service is the key part to it. It's who delivers the food, who goes in, cleans the cabin. It's the small things that all add up to the big thing. You know, it's just those finite details that can take it from being good to being outstanding. And you know, I have it with crew. You always sometimes with new crew and like joining sort of further down the ranks, you want them to push on with their careers and everything like that, and give them as much support. And when they do join, they're like a sort of bouncing bunny rabbit round the boat. They're so excited to be there, but you're just like find yourself like going on an earpiece, like stop talking now, stop talking. You can tell because you can see the guest has sort of drifted off, but the deckie's still standing there going, yeah. And the other thing we can do is you can go. And you're just like, they're not interested. Please leave now. Please leave. I'm like, and they're just like, it's not their fault. They're really excited to be doing what they're doing, and that in itself is great. But you need to kind of refine people sometimes and tone them down a bit.
I think the hardest actually when you join yachting is to remember that you're here to please the guests
Yeah.
and to put yourself a little bit on the background.
Mm.
You're like, sometimes you just need to be a furniture on the boat.
Yeah.
For some guests, they just want to be by their own, especially at 8 of the morning when they're
Yeah.
having their coffee and just enjoying the newspaper they're reading.
Yeah. I've had that. I've had, unfortunately, a couple of crew over the years who have felt like they're on holiday, and you kind of find yourself going, why are you in the water? Oh yeah, well I thought I'd video. And you're like, no, this is nothing, it's nothing to do with that. It's because you want to be on a jet ski or whatever. And it's like, so you have to, it's that balance of professionalism and kind of trying to get the best for the guest, which some people try and go, oh no, I was doing it because they want. And you kind of, and the guest is looking at you going, I never said that I wanted someone to do underwater filming or any, and you, that's actually what you wanted to do. So yeah, it's a tricky one to sort of try and get right, but like 90% do. But yeah, I mean, it's been such a pleasure talking with you, and yeah, your book sounds amazing. I'll make sure Ruth, my chief stew, who's a legend, she was like definitely getting that book. So yeah,
Thank
we
you.
will be having it on board. It's just it's so good. Anything for reference, and like I say, every day is a school day. We've all got so much to learn,
Exactly.
and when you think you know it all, then you find yourself in a bit of a sticky situation because like no one knows it all. But yeah,
This is
wishing you all the
absolutely true.
best for your season. When are you back to work?
I'm going back on Saturday. I was on rotation leave now and
Ouch.
excited to go back on Saturday, and we're going to be in Barcelona. So
Nice.
enjoying a little bit of Spain.
But that's
Yes.
you talking about
That was
rotation.
lovely.
You talking about
Yes.
rotation just quickly. How, I mean, has that made a big difference to your career because you've got some form of balance?
Oh, my words. It literally changed my life.
That's awesome.
So I got my rotation with that boat, my first rotation with the boat now about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And it actually gave me a real balance in my life. And this is how I could have time to write the book. Otherwise, I would have never had the time to write it. It
Yeah.
was before that. It was a everyday job, 11 months a year, 12 months a year. No, never know when you're going to be on holiday. When are you going to have your holidays? Now it's like a life changer.
Amazing.
But you can feel it with all the crew because you don't get irritated with your crew anymore.
No.
When you spend too many times with them.
Life in anything is all about balance. And
exactly.
I think, it'd be amazing, I think, the whole rotation thing, if it becomes industry standard over a certain size. I think that's, if I could wave a magic wand, for me, my stepfather was a commercial pilot with British Airways, and obviously the way airline crews work is they come as a crew and then they swap out a crew. And I think rotation sometimes can be difficult because juniors aren't on rotation, but depending, obviously, some of them have 3 in 1. But they have to learn how different people like things, and you kind of get a different chief stew. Whereas if you came as a unit, you high-five each other on the way in. You're like, see you in 8 weeks. And everyone knows each other's foibles. You're not like, oh, I'm with that captain, or that chief, or that chef's a nutcase. Do you know what I mean? It's you already you come together. You're all on the same plane. You're all kind of, right, come on, guys. It starts in the airport. You ready? When wheels hit the ground, we're gonna guns blazing. We're going in, and the owner, in my opinion, and the charter guests get the best experience because you've got an energized crew that's come back, ready to work, and the last crew's gone off. They get to have some downtime, and that's the dream.
Yeah, so with my rotational chief stew, she's absolutely amazing. Yeah. From day one, we decided together to work as a team. So whatever decision there is, big decision, we have to take them together. If one of us is saying no, then it's a no. And we are making sure that our way to work are the same for her and for myself. So the crew doesn't get disturbed when we are swapping. We don't want them to feel any difference between her or myself. It's like our key point. And usually we manage to have at least 2 weeks together during the year. So we are working together for 2 weeks to make sure that we are still on the same page every year.
That's epic. Nice. Well, Aurore, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome. Have a good season. Where are you flying? Are you going Barcelona? And then what? You sort of West Med, East Med? Or you don't know yet?
It's gonna be busy. So
yeah, it's always busy.
My boat is also doing museum, and we have a worldwide tour, which is quite amazing. But that might be for another topic then.
Yeah. So that sounds awesome. We'll definitely visit that next time when we catch up, and you can tell me how you're a sort of multi-award-winning author, and whatever next.
That would be a pleasure.
Right. Well, lovely speaking with you. Have an amazing evening. Safe travels back to Barcelona, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you, James.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.